Welcome, everybody, to the College Basketball Preview Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster. Today, we're going to preview Tuesday night's battle between North Carolina and Florida in the Jumpman Classic. The game will be played in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, even though it's a neutral site game, it's really not at all. And when we look at these two teams, holding on is one of the final six undefeated teams in Division I college basketball. The Florida Gators will get their most difficult test when they travel to Charlotte to take on the 6-4 North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, when Florida was making their non-conference schedule for the 24-25 season, this was seen as a marquee game that would give an excellent resume building opportunity for the Florida Gators. Unexpectedly, North Carolina last year, after losing to Alabama in the Sweet 16, Alabama was one of the best teams in the country. They were red hot at that point. They have not bounced back well into this season, standing at just 6-4. They've played a very difficult schedule, though. They've got a couple big-time wins. So I think it's safe to say North Carolina has fallen well short of the expectations set for them at the start of the season when this game was set up. But the record doesn't exactly tell the whole story. North Carolina has played one of the most difficult schedules in the country. And in a vacuum, none of their losses look bad. They fell to Kansas 92-87 in a true road game, lost to Auburn and Michigan State at the Maui Invitational, with the Michigan State game coming in overtime. Their fourth loss came at the hands of Alabama, which was a 15-point ass whooping at home for the Tar Heels. And probably the game they'd like to have back the most because they played horrible in that game, but Alabama is one of the best teams in the country. Now, this is the thing. They also beat Dayton. That was a big deal. Dayton's a very good team. We saw Dayton upset Marquette the other day, and it was damn near like an away game because all the fans gravitated to Dayton that weren't there cheering for North Carolina. The other wins have been against Elon, American, Hawaii, Georgia Tech, LaSalle, meaning outside of the Dayton win. The Flyers are 25th in the Ken Palm. Their best win is against 114th ranked Georgia Tech. Now, in a lot of ways, their season and their resume has been the exact opposite of Florida. Florida's yet to play a team in the top 50 of Ken Palm, but they've only gotten through their schedule unscathed. They've absolutely clobbered their opponents. So this is not like they're slipping by teams. And these teams were not all terrible teams. They were playing a bunch of Sam Houston States. Now, North Carolina, on the other hand, has played an extremely challenging schedule. So that's the thing. That's the reason why on BetMGM right now, this point spread is only 3.5 points. If you want to bet this game, the top sports book for betting on college basketball, any college sport, any sport for that matter at all, go to BetMGM. You can click on the link in the description down below in this video. Now, situations like North Carolina are what make predictive metrics helpful in order to gauge just how good a team is. While the Tar Heels might not have huge wins, they're still ranked 29th in Ken Palm, making this the best team Florida has faced so far this season. North Carolina likely has two advantages in this game. And the first one is that they have already battle tested and they have seen some of the best teams in the country. While it's likely that Florida hasn't even seen an NCAA tournament team yet, with all of their current opponents outside of the top 50 in Ken Palm. The other advantage that the Tar Heels will have is that as a part of the Jordan Jumpman Classic, this game will be played in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, one of the big reasons North Carolina has had such high expectations this season was the return of 6-foot point guard R.J. Davis, who was a seasoned veteran, who was one of the most productive players in the country last year, averaging 21.2 points and 3.5 assists a game. This landed him on the watch list to to win the Wooden Award. And now North Carolina has struggled as a team. Davis has still put up rock solid productions at 17 points, 4 rebounds, and those point totals could easily be higher if not for a jumper that has betrayed him so far this season. Now, last year, Davis, one of the best shooters in the country, shot 40% from deep on heavy volume. But right now, the shots aren't falling, and he's way down at 25%. Even though he's put together some rough shooting games, recently has proven throughout his career that he can be dangerous from deep. And the Gators would be wise to play him like someone who could knock it down because he can. And at some point, Davis is going to start to hit his shots. In a season that has seen more negatives so far, one of North Carolina's positive stories is the emergence of guard Seth Trimble, who has jumped from 5 points a game last year to 15 points a game this season. Now, Tribble is a fan favorite at Chapel Hill for his effort, his intelligence, and his personality. And now the offensive production is some of the most potent on the roster. While some of his teammates are struggling for deep, Tribble is providing some huge shooting at 45% from 3 point range. When he gets going, North Carolina can be at its best. Now, if you don't know a lot about North Carolina, I'm at the point where you're wondering why the Tar Heels have struggled and fallen short of expectations so far. First of all, you can look to a defense that has struggled, particularly on the perimeter. RJ Davis, Ilya Kadu, Seth Tribble are strong offensive players, but they aren't particularly tight on the defensive side of things. They also measure at 6 foot, 6'1", 6'3", with each of them also being a little bit on the skinnier side. They don't have the kind of defenders that can dominate a matchup one-on-one. And that lack of length means the Tar Heels aren't a disruptive defense by any means. They rank 307th in the country in defensive turnover percentage. When we look at the front court matchup, whichever way you want to look at it, both offensively or defensively, this is a front court that has struggled and struggled and struggled some more. The thing about North Carolina's front court issue is that it wasn't a major surprise. People knew going into the season that the front court was a weakness, but no one knew just how much of a problem it was going to be. Despite the lure of playing next to fantastic guards, huge NIL, and an incredible pedigree, big men have had huge success at North Carolina. They still didn't land any big names in the portal. So here are the pieces that North Carolina is working with. You got Vin Lubin, a player who started at Notre Dame before going to Vanderbilt. He's undersized, not particularly athletic. You got Jalen Washington, a player that has been in a North Carolina system for 3 seasons. He's mainly a reserve piece. You got Withers, who was a part of the Kenny Payne disaster at North Carolina or at Louisville. And North Carolina must have liked what they saw. He's averaging 6 points and 5 rebounds per game, though. This is a team that really on the front court, Florida should have their way with them. Of course, you can even out in the backcourt because due to those front court problems, North Carolina is heavily reliant on the backcourt for production. Florida is also a team who has most of their production coming from the backcourt, and their unit had arguably their best performance of the season so far in the most recent win against Arizona State. For North Carolina to win, they'll need their guard trio to outplay Florida's. I don't see that happening, guys. And when I first looked at this game, I thought it was a perfect spot to maybe take the upset with North Carolina playing in the Jumpman Classic in Charlotte. But I think Florida's better. I think they're a little bit better in the front court, even though neither team's stellar there. And the backcourt, I think Florida might be just a little bit better there also. The SEC's proven to be an extremely tough conference this season. Add Florida to that mix. I think Florida goes to 11-0. And if I'm going to bet MGM to bet this game, I'm going to bet Florida minus 3.5. I wouldn't go more than that. If this gets to 4.5 or 5, I would probably take Carolina to points because I do think it's going to be a close game. But my best bet is to take the Florida Gators in 3.5 points. All right, guys, remember to follow me on X at Grilling Truth. Go to BetMGM to bet on this game. Click on the link in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. Check out thegrillingtruth.com. Find us on Facebook, like and follow us there. And on YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. But for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grilling Truth, where the legends stay.